Been a lot of talk about how the Nintendo Switch dock is too big, and to an extent, I can understand if you're traveling a lot, this could be kind of cumbersome to take with you. However, if you're around the house and you don't travel much with your dock, I could see how that isn't a good argument also, but to an extent, some people do not like the size of this dock, and people have now taken it into their own hands to fix that by creating different third-party docks that are smaller, and actually a lot smaller. In fact, when we did our teardown video of this dock, I was very surprised as to how much empty space was actually in here. I mean, when you pick up the dock, you do realize, wow, there must not be much in here because it's very light. And when we took it apart, we found that it was a small circuit board, and then of course a ribbon cable that ran in here with a spring. And that's fine, because this really just needs to be a way for the Switch to reach the TV with extra USB ports, and that's completely fine. But again, I'm surprised there is not a smaller option, but there are third-party ways. Now, this third-party dock here is interesting. It's very small. It's actually a lot smaller than this dock, probably at least, I would say, a fifth of the size. If you actually look at it side by side, it's very tiny. And there's not a lot to this, obviously, because it's just a shell. You can buy these on Amazon. I ended up getting this one sent in to check out for review and everything, and it's very small. It's definitely like just kind of like molded. It doesn't feel 3D printed, it feels molded. But inside, it's just a very small housing for the board. I did notice one other thing. No instructions came with it. And that would be tough, I think, for a lot of people, but you know what? We'll turn this kind of into a little instructional video on how you can put your dock into this as well. We'll take it apart, put it together. I did want to do one extra thing while I have this all unscrewed and everything. I figure I'll actually paint it as well, just because if I'm going to customize the dock, I guess I'll customize the dock. Also want to point out it does come with 2 screwdrivers and then enough screws to put this all together. So you could pretty much take the stuff out of your old dock and then kind of put your old dock back together, and you can still keep that just in case. But if you're interested in doing this same thing that I'm about to do, check the description. I'll leave a link to the exact same dock that I am using here, and that way you can kind of follow through with putting it in when you follow this video if you want to check it out later and make your dock smaller. Now you'll notice I have a couple orange letters here. What happened was I wanted to, if I was going to paint this, I wanted to at least do something a little fun, so I decided to reach out to a couple different vinyl cutter on Etsy, different people who cut vinyls and stuff. Really some cool things. They do like bumper stickers and like stickers you can put on your laptop and everything, little vinyl pieces. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I just stuck SWM on there, and then that way when I paint, I can hopefully peel it off, hopefully, and it'll still be the Spawn Wave Media symbols there, just obviously in black, and the rest will be in purple. And I reached out to a couple of cuts. They got back to me. They were kind enough to send the lettering like that for the dock, and they also sent me one of their cuts for vinyl. I probably I'll put it up here on the wall. But it's like the Hylian symbol with the Triforce and everything there. I'll probably put this back here somewhere, or rather up here, probably above the Nintendo symbol. And it's pretty neat. They do some pretty cool stuff. I will put their link to their Etsy shop down below. They do all kinds of stuff, things for your back of your laptop. You see people like put the different vinyls on their laptops or on their cars or on their wall. They have them there. They peel back off as well. These are not like you stick them and then you rip like your wall off with it. So they're pretty good about that. The SWM I had to kind of it kept peeling up at times, so I wasn't putting enough pressure, and it went right back down. So that's awesome. And thank you to a couple of cuts. Again, their info is in the description, guys. Go check them out. Their stuff is very affordable. So first up, of course, was painting the dock. Not very difficult overall. It was pretty easy. If you just follow the instructions on the back of any of the spray paint you buy, it's pretty easy. In this case, I used Krylon paint, mostly because they have kind of their plastic paint that does stick to plastic, bond to it is what they say, and it does a pretty good job overall, especially with coverage. Now, what I did first, of course, was that I put like the vinyl on it, and that made it a little easier for masking because it came pre-cut. I didn't have to kind of mess around with that. Afterwards, I went ahead and started painting. Every 1 to 2 minutes, it says to hit it with another light coat. So I hit it with probably 4 or 5 light coats, and that made it came out pretty nice. Looks pretty good. After that, I had to kind of take my time and peel the vinyl off very carefully, and you can see there it did a really good job masking. Didn't stick too much or pull any paint back with it, so I had a pretty good SWM logo on the little dock I got. It's not perfectly centered, but honestly, I don't really care. It's just an extra thing I want to do to it. Pretty cool. And overall, yeah, it looks pretty nice like that. I like the purple. The shade's very good. And I used a clear coat that made it look a little more matte rather than glossy. I always say, you know what, hit it with a clear coat if you can get that along with your paint. Just help protect it. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about how to take apart the Nintendo Switch dock. I've already done a video on that. If you did not see that video, check out the card up here. It'll link you right to the video of the entire dock teardown. But what we're going to do from here is actually put it together in this dock. Now, like I said, they did not give us, at least me anyway, in the package I got, any instructions. But no big deal, because I should be able to put it all together for you and give you an idea of how to do it yourselves. Now, they did provide us with a couple of screwdrivers and a bunch of screws. Doesn't look like it takes much to hold this guy together. As far as I can tell, the two silver screws hold the USB Type-C port in, and then you have all of the black screws left over to screw in the board. And the way we're going to do this is, it's pretty straightforward how we're going to do this actually. It's actually pretty easy. We're going to take this, line it up with the correct sides, which would be here for the USB-C and the HDMI. And the other side is the other two USB ports. I kind of like that it's a little easier to get to that, by the way. And you have screw holes here that should line up, and you even have a little plastic riser here that lines up as well. It actually snaps in. All right, very good. So it's going to sit kind of like that then. And then of course our port is here. So what we need to do is make sure we can fit this guy in and then have it so it finishes up when we have to unwind it right up here, which this should fit through and sit just like that, giving us the nice USB-C port on the other side. So let's figure out how we can kind of wind this. Again, I feel like it would have been kind of nice if they had given us some sort of demonstration on how they would go about doing that. We could probably wind it underneath if we wanted to. That's an option. Let's see if we can figure this out. So this is kind of what I came up with here. I actually flipped it over so this plugs in there. You have a little bit of slack left over, but that can kind of sit right in there from what I could tell. And then it kind of just folds there. So it'll sit like that. It'll all be held together. Not too bad, and everything fits well otherwise. So when we put it together, hopefully it sits in and everything works all right. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in for this guy up here. We definitely need those in sooner than later. And I'll even use the screwdrivers they gave us just to see how they work for you guys, because I'm not usually a big fan of screwdrivers that come with these things, because usually they're pretty junky. They don't do well usually. They have zero added torque to them because you're kind of gripping something like this. And already I don't like it, so I'm just going to go back to my normal one. So that definitely screws in very well. You can tell that actually the port lifted a little bit on that side, which is good news because that means it's in snug. Okay, so both of our screws are in up here now. It's in well. This part slides in nicely there. So now all that's left is for me to finish screwing it together. Now we have a couple extra screw holes here because of course we have 4 on the bottom that are going to hold it together. So we just want to identify where the other ones are that do not need to screw in through there. So this one, for example, up here, these two share that screw hole through the board, but the only other ones that use are these. So all the other screw holes should get their own screw to hold the board in. And if they position them correctly, it should be near where you're going to push things in, like USB ports, for example. And it looks like they did put an extra one here, for example, next to that USB 3. So that's good news. Now we're going to go ahead and just start screwing in the other spots here. Now what we're going to do is kind of put this back part on correctly, match it up. Yep, that sits in just fine there. You can kind of see it though through the vents. Oh, that'll be in the back, so it's not a big deal. And then we just got to put the last 4 screws in, guys, and our dock is finished. You can see everything looks pretty good overall. It has the USB-C port kind of sticking out here. Now there's no more spring on that, so you will have to be careful when you put your Switch in here, because of course the normal dock does give you a bit of a margin for error there, because that spring-loaded mechanism is there to have it kind of give away if you don't put it in just right at first, and the rollers to kind of help it find it. But overall, this is now the dock. So it's become much smaller, as you can see here. Much more, I would say, easier to take with you and travel. All of the ports match up perfectly. The one thing that they missed out on here, and you'll see this before we plug it in, they should have had it so there's a spot to put that light. Now, there is a light, obviously, on the dock that lights up. It's just a plug-in one. It's very easy to plug in. What I could honestly do is possibly drill a hole here and maybe put the light here, or I could put it on the side here just to show that, you know, it's active and everything and it's on. But otherwise, very small. Let's go ahead and plug it in and check it out. So overall, I mean, it plugs in fine here, but let's see how it does in, I guess, in real world testing here. Let's turn the switch on, get it to the menu, and then we'll just kind of sit it down and see what happens here. I think I have the TV in standby mode, so should kick it on. This is actually a computer monitor that I use because it has a very low refresh rate. So let's pop this guy in here. It's going through HDMI, of course, to see how it fits actually first. I haven't even tried to pop it in yet. Okay, so there it goes. So it's in there. It's off. So, oh, there we go. Look at that. Wow. That's pretty nice. It actually sits very, it sits nice in there. It's not bad. Like usually you kind of look at that and you think it's going to fall one way or the other. Now it's in there pretty well. It's not a bad little dock to travel with, I guess. Access to the USB ports on the side, not bad. That side, you got both over here. So, you know, this is not bad at all, actually. I'm pretty happy. Let's see how it does when you lift. Now, when you lift, it looks like because the dock is still pretty light and it grabs it pretty well, you probably have to put your, like a hand kind of on the back here when you pick it up, which I don't think is a big deal considering this is much smaller now. Let me try dropping it in one more time, kind of without looking, see how it goes. Yeah, okay, so it sits on there pretty well. So I have to give it to him. That's not a bad dock now. Very nice, much smaller. So if you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, I will put a link in the description for this dock. If you guys want to pick one up, feel free to. Hopefully this video helps you kind of put it together. What's also nice is you can kind of make it any color you want. Using that paint, it's on there nicely. Like it's not it's definitely not peeling off or anything. I used Krylon paint, which does bond to plastic, so it looks pretty good overall. I'm very happy with it, and let me know what you guys think about this dock. I think it's nice because it's very small now, obviously, to have a dock that is pretty much palm-sized at this point. Much smaller, easier to travel with. But that's it for now, guys. I will see you next time.